I saw my nephew earlier today, and he was telling me about this kid that bullies him at school. And I said to him straight about, you just beat that motherfucker's ass. You put your balls on his face, you just knocked the shit out of him. And it occurred to me that most people don't know how to deal with bullies. So as a public service for your own goodness, out of my own goodness, I'm going to tell you a little story about how I dealt with bullies and how you can learn from it to be a better person. This was back in the spring of 2005. I was stationed in Biloxi, Mississippi at Keesler Air Force Base. I was part of the prestigious air traffic control program, and I had some very nice classmates, except for one asshole who would always try to fuck people over for his own benefit. He was the kind of guy that if you walked out of your dorm to go pick up your laundry from down the hall, he would sneak into your room and raid your fridge. He's the kind of guy that if you let him into your dorm, while you weren't looking, he'd sneak into your closet and steal all of your pornography. And unfortunately for this motherfucker, he's the kind of guy that when it was Friday and I was talking to this, she wasn't hot, she was Air Force hot. She was, I haven't been able to get off base to get laid yet kind of hot. She was halfway between Winona Ryder and Steve Buscemi. Like, she was a nice looking girl, but she had these big bulging eyes, And I was good to go. The weekend was gonna come. We were finally gonna get off base, and I was gonna dump a load on her face. Well, the weekend rolls around, and she's freezing me out. She's like, no, you get the fuck away from me. And I'm like, what the fuck is that problem? And I come to find out that after the weekend's over on Monday, that this bully went up to this girl and told her that I told him that she looks like olive oil trying to hold in his shit. Now look, I did say that she looks like olive oil trying to hold in his shit, but he only told her that so that he could get some of that pussy. Now, if not for the fact that I hooked up with my plan B, the blonde girl that looked like Kelsey Grammer with tits, I would have beaten the shit out of this boy. Instead, I'd begun to hatch a plan. A week rolled around, and my opportunity came. This boy got his wisdom teeth out on a Thursday. On Friday, he had taken almost all of his pills, and he was out of his fucking mind. He was walking around base picking fights with people, puking all over the place. And on the weekends, you are supposed to be in your dorm room at 10 o'clock p.m. So the guy comes by, he knocks on my door. Yeah, come over here and let me see your ID, asshole. I show him my ID, he goes down the hall. Let me see your ID, asshole. The guy comes out, shows him his ID. He gets to this bully's room. Open the fuck up, asshole, let me see your ID. The boy does not come to the door. So I come out of my room, I walk over, I say, excuse me, sir, let me open this for you. I open the door, and there he is sleeping in his bed, just drool all over his mouth, puke all over the floor. And the man with the clipboard says to me, is that the bully? And I say, yes it is, would you like me to wake him up? He says, that's not necessary. And I said, don't worry, let me wake him up. And I walk over to him, I creep up very quietly, like a very polite mouse. And I put my lips right over his ear. And as loud as humanly possible, I go, wake up, fuck face! It was a 3-story building. We were on the bottom floor. The girls in the dorm at the top floor, they heard it. And he opens his eyes and he says, fuck you. And he goes back to sleep. And everybody in the dormitory is outside of his room and they're laughing. And you might think, that's not much of a revenge. That's not the revenge. The following day, we're in class. And this idiot is super hungover. He's taken too many pills again. And he can hardly stay awake. And everybody's just looking at him and giggling. And he's like, what's so funny? And I explained to him what happened. I said, I tried to wake you up and I screamed and everybody heard it. It was kind of funny. But he was so out of it that he did not understand me. And he got all accusatory. And he's like, no, what did you do to me? What did you do to me, you asshole? You son of a bitch. And I look across the room at my classmates. And they look back at me. And there was a moment where an unspoken synapse snapped between our brains. And I hatched this plan. And without a word, they all went along with it. And I said to the bully, last night, roll call came around. You did not get out of your bed. I opened your door. You were sitting there with your mouth open. I took off my trousers. I took off my underoos. I took my gigantic yam bag and I plopped it in your mouth. And he said, excuse me? And then one of my classmates from across the room said, that's right. Smedgemer King has the nicest, roundest ball sack I've ever seen. And he plopped it in your mouth one nut at a time. And another one of my classmates who was eating boiled eggs, he picks them up and he puts them on his chin. He's like, hey look, I'm you. And the bully's like, wait a second, that's not funny, you guys are just fucking around, right? And I look at my teacher and he looks back at me and he just smiles and he gets up and he walks out of the room and he goes to the next classroom over so that they could be in on the joke too. And for a minute, everything's calmed down and this guy's just mumbling to himself like, they're full of shit. They're just messing with me. And the teacher comes back in and we take a test, and halfway through the test, one of the highest ranking members of the United States Air Force Air Traffic Controller programs, the most professional man I've ever met in my entire life, who before that moment I had never seen smile, I had never seen crack a joke, I've never even seen him have a casual conversation. He walks into the room and he says, excuse me everybody, I just need to make a special delivery. And he pulled out from his front pocket a Tetley tea bag and he walks up to the bully and he puts it on his chin, turns around and walks out. And now suddenly the bully's getting a little bit scared. He's like, you guys are just joking with me, right? And we finish our test and we go on our mandatory hourly break. We march down to the break room and everybody we pass is just looking at him and smirking and tapping themselves on the chin. A girl walks up to him with a rag and hands it to him. He says, what's this for? She says, to get the nutsack sweat off your chin, you silly goose. And she walks away. And the rest of the day we just keep piling it on. The more he asks about it, the worse it gets. Because suddenly, it's not just me who put my balls in his mouth. It was everybody in the dormitory. The more people he asked, the more people were like, yeah, I put my balls in your mouth. I gotta say, you got some soft lips and hot breath. It wasn't that bad. And he's getting more confused and angry because he's still kind of out of it because of the medication. And then somebody comes up with the idea that we filmed it. And then for the rest of the day, people are pulling out their flip phones and they're pretending to be looking at the video and they're pointing at their phone and they're pointing back at him and they're laughing. And he's getting irate. And now he starts talking in the middle of class, where usually if you talk out of turn, you are in big fucking trouble. You are getting sent down to somebody's office who could put you in a fucking gulag. And he's up cursing. He's like, you motherfuckers, this ain't funny. That didn't happen. Stop picking on me. Let me put the balls in my mouth. Stop pretending like you got it on tape. And we get dismissed to go to lunch. And we're getting our food. And he's reaching over to grab a packet of peanut butter. And one of the lunch ladies grabs him by the wrist and says, no, 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 you've had enough nuts. And now he's sitting next to me and he's angry and he's spitting and meowing like a cat. He's like, yo, you gotta stop making this up. You gotta stop telling people that it happened, because it didn't happen, right? This is just make believe, right? And he begins to cry. Now I realized at that moment that I had become the bully, that I had taken a little bit of revenge and I had turned it into something that could give a man a nervous breakdown. And I felt really bad about it, but I kept the joke going. And by the end of the day, he was so frazzled that he pulled down his own pants and tried to teabag a man, got flipped over a table, and kicked square in the balls. Now, I like to think the icing on the cake is not only that we have this wonderful, beautiful, spontaneous, universal hatred of the same person that crystallized in the form of this wonderful improvised joke, but a week later, this dumbass comes up to me in the bathroom, pulls out his dick, and says, hey, does this look like herpes to you? And as it turns out, Olive Oil Steve Buscemi girl gave him the herpes.